Does it say, is this the sound of a workforce attempting to hide the existential question AI presents? I'm exploring today that question with Zhanna. And Zhanna, I'm going to ask you to say your last name for me.
Zhuravleva. Hello.
Wow, thank you, because there was a lot of syllables in there and I knew I would trip over them.
Yeah.
So Zhanna is a HR and culture transformation leader with 17 years of experience in org change and 13 in senior HR roles across 40 countries. And there's, I mean, I know you're in London now, but I personally value highly that international experience, because with that comes a lot of worldview experience, exposure, and different people see things differently. And that's so rich. It just really allows you to look at reality with a more flexible lens and a more compassionate lens too, because you can see. Anyway, so Zhanna is a leadership coach. She's a futurist, and she's the creator of her own leadership organizational transformation frameworks. And you know what I love is she's the founder and chief spirit officer of Awake Conscious Play and a holistic leadership school. So play is a big theme emerging. And Zhanna is part of that front edge doing that work. So that's very exciting. So what we're talking about today, and it focuses on her unique interest in what makes us become uniquely human in the age of AI. How can leaders move beyond simply thinking and doing towards presence, meaning, and a deeper quality of being? So we're going to have a pretty down grounded, to earth conversation around this, and start off with a very vulnerable, bold question, Zhanna, which is what's the thing you feared in your career and were wrong or were right about?
Hi, Dawna. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. So thank you so much for this interesting question. When I look back at my career, I don't think I've had a particularly strong fear of the external world, I think. And I don't mean that in some heroic way. I think it's just part of my biography, because I experienced many challenges. For instance, war as a child, migrations, and many difficult situations in my life. And eventually my work moved increasingly towards consciousness, culture, holistic leadership, maybe because of that. So I learned quite early that the form of life changes. So, and something changes, and my instinct is often interesting. What is this? And how do I make this disappear? So fear says, stop it. And curiosity says, show me more. That's interesting for me.
Yeah.
Because, of course, I have fears because I'm a human, but it's maybe different kind of fear. It's like internal inherited programs from your family, from ancestors, and so on. For instance, desire to prove something, need to be recognized. It's also connected to fear, but it's different. It's not about external world. So something like that.
Yep. Okay. I'll share. Sorry.
Yeah, maybe I add something about our illusion of stability. I think about that a lot, because we extraordinarily good at creating this illusion of stability, psychological illusion of stability. So when I think that we are moving through space with incredible speed right now, on this hot rock spinning through the space, so when we focus on that, so it's quite scary, but we don't want to focus on that, and we tend to create something like exoskeleton of stability. So that's why I believe that's why we create rigid systems, like exoskeleton, illusion of stability. But stability is still illusion. That's why I try to develop through my work something like fluency, ability to understand that change is part of our life. And we often discuss resilience, for instance, in HR, so in leadership. But I believe that it's more about change fluency, what we need right now, rather than resilience. Because resilience, how can I understand it? It's something happened to me, I survive it and I return to normal. But what if there is no previous normal to return to? So
Yeah.
I think that now we're all in such kind of situation. So change fluency means I develop different relationship with movement. So something like that, and maybe rewarding life rather than rewarding death. So something, and maybe it's also connected with my perception of AI as well, because I'm ambassador of AI. I'm very positive about that. So we will discuss it and dive into that, because I believe that it's evolutionary invitation to develop our change fluency.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I agree fully, 100%. I'm going to just share my fear
Yeah,
because the purpose of this is for people to really see if this connects with what you're experiencing, because that is the core question here. And my personal experience is, as someone who's some more of an introvert than an extrovert, and is that I didn't want to be seen. So from a fear point of view, it's like I don't want to be seen, and the other side of it is I need to be seen and I need to be out there. And so it's there's a tension there. So and then the fear is, if you're not seen, if you end up being off profile or off the visibility thing,
mm,
that you'll just disappear and nobody will care. And so when
yeah,
you're here to do what you feel is important and make a big contribution, it would be nice to know that it was valued and came forward.
yeah,
So that's a tension I've sort of wrestled with my entire career, is like how much being out there can you do, then how much recharging and regenerating and then back out again. And just what does the outside world do while all that's going on? So yeah, it's fascinating. Anyway, thank
yeah.
you. All right, so
Thank you
let's
so
go.
much for sharing. Yeah.
Let's go to the next topic, which is about roles. So, and that is that roles in some companies are that were filled. People are leaving and they're not being refilled, and then they're expanding the responsibilities to the other people, and then of course this goes back to identity. So, how do we, if we go, this is an AI question, how do we recognize people and their talent when the shifts underway give more recognition to AI? In other words, there's some companies that are telling their people, just do what the AI tells you to do. And which is like internally, I think that's a suicidal thing, but that's my opinion. What's
Yeah,
yours?
that's very deep question. Thank you so much. Can I start with maybe my perception of AI itself, like philosophy of my understanding? Is it okay?
Yeah, of course. Yep.
Yeah. So, I don't believe that AI itself isn't necessarily the greatest threat, because of course we have many discussions, articles about that, conferences. I increasingly think that our orthodoxy may be the greatest threat. Our attempt to preserve structure designed for another era. So we inherited our perception of systems, structures, HR from industrial world. And now it's obsolete, it's old fashioned. And this orthodoxy is definitely threat for future economy as well. Our attachment to careers as a predictable ladders. Why ladders? Why not portfolio, multidimensional career space? Or our education system continuing to behave as though information were scarce, or our HR system, HR, it's my pain, measuring people through years served rather than from value created. So our attempt to freeze an economy uh, inherited from industrial era. So now AI is like a trigger. Guys, you need to change our understanding of systems itself. I believe it's like, electricity with intelligence. It's definitely not a tool. It's a evolutionary invitation. Electricity wasn't simply another tool that entered our job description. So electricity changed architecture of reality. And now something like that happens. And of course, I understand we have many fears about that, about our identity, job identity, and so on. But we have definitely amazing opportunity to change the world. For instance, I believe, and I see, for instance, statistic from World Economic Forum that AI will help us to create about 170 million new jobs rather than while displace only 92. Of course, it's forecast, but I believe in that because it's like recalibration of the market. It doesn't seem to be a pie machines will eat from. It's about recalibration. So at the same time, we of course we understand that we have risks because especially how we will go through these changes and how we will support people, for instance, to develop new capabilities, to learn how to work with AI together, and so on, and how we will change education system. And this is about conscious leadership, definitely, because now we need to develop conscious leaders to build conscious systems and conscious ecosystems between human and AI. So I think beside that uh, previous job description, it's like prison for talent. So take for instance, you have 7 tasks, you have lists of competences, list of skills. This is your level, this is your grade, this is your box, this is your manager, and so on. And we need to focus on different things. I developed framework and I had very strong resonance from HR leadership and HR thinkers from different countries, very famous HR thinkers. How can we change our perception of work from roles to outcome contracts, to value created? So for instance, it's power assembly teams, temporary teams, and we can we can create temporary team from human and AI capability, and human can move between different projects, between different temporary teams. It's absolutely different perception of work without focusing on department, structure, roles, or skills. Because the velocity of learning, it's also changing right now. So that's why I believe that we need to build from scratch our understanding how work can be organized. So regarding how can we evaluate people, yeah, so I believe that of course we need to focus on their human capabilities, judgment, decision making, and you're professional in this area, yeah. So connection to yourself, understanding connection between strategy and purpose, meaning making, and so on, deeply human capabilities. So, and we need to focus on that, I believe. Your ability to learn new things, your ability to collaborate, your ability to create field between each other. So deeply human things.
I
So
agree.
because yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's an entire shift. I mean, it also erases in organizations that whole thing. It's not in my job description, or I don't get rewarded for that. It removes the reward system, it sounds like. And now you can shift to actually focusing on what needs to get done and accomplished, and how it gets done is through more of a much wider collective team effort. So
Yeah.
that also sort of wipes out a bunch of those silos that become territorial in some of the bigger organizations, and breaks it down to who do we need from a network point of view. Who do we need in my network that can come and help achieve this goal, whether they're in the company or outside the company. So that's a nice shift that anybody can make. If I stop thinking of myself as playing a particular role and start thinking of myself as being a contributor toward a bigger goal, then it gets interesting, I think.
Yeah, that's why we need to develop conscious leadership. We need new type of leaders.
So let me get that word a bit, because I understood, and believe it or not, I got this from Claude AI. Claude AI says that the word consciousness, plays well in Europe, but in US and I don't know, maybe Canada as well. I'm from Canada. It doesn't play as well. And I think, okay, that's weird. We've got a word that creates resistance. But essentially what we're talking about here is a level of self-awareness, situational awareness, and
Yeah.
preferably wider contextual awareness. That's my thing,
Yes.
but that's just
Yeah.
because there's a bigger thing going on outside, and we tend to keep the box small so we can feel like we're in control and coping. But in reality, the responsiveness comes from being fluent with all three levels of awareness.
Yeah. So absolutely, my perception similar. For instance, first of all, working with your own energy. You need understand how to work with your own energy in order to be a leader. Second, consciousness. That's why I developed this approach to meditation practices, spiritual practices, achieving clarity, removing noise from your head. Third, transcontextual thinking. Its ability to shift between different contexts, what you said about that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so ability to switch between, ability to understand different values logic as well. And for me, it's relevant because I work across many countries. So it's crucial for global leader to understand different value logics, different cultures, and so on. Beside that, of course, your relationship with the matter. So ability to translate your ideas, your energy, and your purpose to valuable results, to value, to outcomes.
Yep.
And statecraft. Statecraft is ability to create field, support, trust, energy field,
Right.
and engage people in that. I developed Compass. It's my framework in order to simplify this approach. It's also one of the tool I teach leaders. It's self, energy, your health, mental health. You focus on your first and second chakra. So soul, meaning, purpose, mission. Soft, translation into valuable results. And spirit, field, something like that. I believe it's like a maybe foundation of future leadership, holistic leadership, integral leadership. Yeah, because industrial era, understood leadership differently, in different way. Something like rulership, to be a ruler. Yeah, something like so.
Yep.
It's quite different. Yeah, so be predictable, be measurable. So act like a machine, like robot. But now it's not relevant anymore. We have machines, so now we need humans.
Exactly. Exactly. So you've used the word spirit, and I think this is a good time to dive into that, what we mean by that. I think spiritual intelligence was coined by Peter Senge back in 1999.
Yeah.
There's been a number of times when people have raised it, and yet right away when I started putting this work forward in the early part of 2000, I'd be getting, oh, that's religion, and I say, no, there's a huge difference
Yeah.
between religion and spirit. And then Val Krajinski out of Alberta, my province next door to me here, had looked at it from a scientific point of view, and it is that fuel that fires the workplace. It is, if you don't have a spirit, a strong sense of control, and that Whitehall reports covered that quite well. Without a strong sense of control over your life, then there's a high level of mental and emotional stress and illness. Initiative, the ability to do something when that's within to take action essentially. And then your outlook on life is the world going downhill in a handbasket, and or do you see your outlook as being positive and very you're capable, you trust, you've got confidence in yourself. So it's something that applies to the individual, but it also applies to the organization by an aggregation. Like, just put all that together, and what do you have? An organization that sees itself as a victim of market conditions, or sees
Yeah.
itself as a victim of AI, or do you have a company that got the initiative, but it's missing and the sense of control, but it might be missing an outlook that is fair and balanced to all things. So that's my version. What's yours?
About yeah. Uh, Absolutely fascinating. You know about that. Your knowledge is very deep in that area. So I love approach of Dawna Zohar.
Oh, right, of course. And we share that.
Yes.
We share that.
Yeah,
She was
absolutely.
one of the
So
early writers.
absolutely, yeah, about quantum leadership, understanding of reality through quantum fields and so on. But maybe it's different conversation. It's very deep, now I'm exploring quantum physics as well. So what I and how can I explain spiritual intelligence, and how can I explain for leaders, for instance? Uh, we can start from spiral dynamics or integral approach of Ken Wilber. So it's level of consciousness. I think you know spiral dynamics or Ken Wilber's
Yeah,
approach.
I'm
Yeah, it's
familiar with
like,
it, but the
yeah,
audience may not
levels.
be. But yeah,
It's, for instance, a yellow level. So we include in transcend each level before, and we understand different reality. So we understand different realities, we understand different values logic, we understand different context, first of all. And of course, holistic vision. So it's like it's like both spiritual world, scientific world. So you don't need to choose holistic understanding of reality. Openness, ability to understand the field and create the field. And the most crucial and profound for me, it's ability to achieve 0 point, to step out of the game of your ego and observe from distance. Not as emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence matters, of course, yes, but it's still level of your ego. It's your perception from your ego. But we have practices and we have approaches to step out and to see through absolutely 0 point. And this is also very profound uh, for spiritual intelligence. Of course, besides that connection to something more, we can define it differently. For instance, I say maybe higher self, something more than me as a human. And something maybe like that. And of course, yes, understanding of your energy system, understanding how energy works, it's also part of spiritual intelligence. But I like now I try to explain it through whole intelligence, without separation. Whole intelligence, like spiritual, cognitive, emotional, somatic, our body, yes, and resonance intelligence with the field, something like that.
right. So, do you feel that the skills to work with spiritual intelligence or to evolve into a wider state of intelligence and on the spiritual side, do you feel that's something you're given? Are these traits, or is it a capacity? Can you learn it? You know, what how do you see that?
Results? You mean the results of that work?
No, spiritual intelligence. Is it are the skill sets that go with that? I mean, you've just described some of them: the openness, the ability
Yes.
to see from a distance and
Yeah.
step back, which is, by the way, one of
Yeah.
my favorite ways of reflecting. Even when I'm shoveling manure, horse manure, I can still back up, and that's where I do that work, where you step back and you look at things from a wider lens. It's wonderful. But all of
Yeah.
that, do you think is it a capacity building process? Is it a something you're born with?
It's capacity building process, but you need to be ready, prepared for that.
Fair
It's
enough.
about to have a call, like calling.
Yeah. Yeah. Something that instigates the whole
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Sometimes it's after maybe challenge in your life or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, where does play fit?
Playfulness, I love this idea. Game, organizations play or systems play. Playfulness. I believe it's the most profound archetypal energy we have. it's opposite fear, it's almost opposite fear. So it's about our deeply human. So we start our life from play. Children learn reality through play. Animals play. Scientists play with hypotheses. Artists play with form. And this is the strongest energy we have. I learned it from my teachers, from Stephen Gilligan, from Robert Dills, and they taught me so that we have three archetypal energy. We have strength, man's archetypal energy. We have love, and we have playfulness. This is healthy child energy, exploration, experimentation. So uh, it's not about control. It's about wow, so interesting. What happens if I try this? What else could be possible? What what haven't I seen? So it's about your curiosity. I believe it's the most profound energy we have. That's why I have many, many different tools and framework based on uh, games. For instance, Lila, it's spiritual, spiritual game. We discussed it with you. Yes, I invited you to participate in this brilliant ancient India game. It's also part of my work with leadership. I believe, yes.
To me, it's interesting. I think it was Joseph Chilton Pierce that said play brings out the highest form of intelligence, and
Yeah,
and I believe that to be true because, and I have played with play myself in multiple
yeah,
ways, but including trying to, as a sort of an exercise in snapping out of superlinear approaches and very fixed mindset, and yet sometimes you do that kind of playful work where you're playing invisible basketball or something like that, and then you come
yeah,
out the
yeah,
other side
yeah, yeah.
and it reverses right back to the original lock thing. So I think the actual, I mean, that taught me a lot because it was like, okay, that it didn't do what I was hoping it would do. It didn't unlock the fix on linear thinking and a very
Yeah,
fixed approach to thinking. But so there has to be more chaos, I think. I mean, there's a space of chaos, but then there needs to be on the other side more space for just allowing things to show up as a result of what you just went through, if that makes any sense. So play can be the medium, it could be the vehicle, and then integrating the play, what comes out of the play back into the world you're in, which more often than
yeah,
not is going to be
definitely.
linear, sadly, but more often than not it's going to be linear, and yet then it's going to take you lose the value unless you're aware of the fact that you might lose the value. You've got to take the play, the nonlinear aspects of play, and balance them, not replace
Yeah,
them with the linear side.
absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
And what is also crucial, maybe to mention that I understand that spiritual intelligence is not about spiritual avoidance, for instance. When we practice that, we need to understand that, yes, we need to create real value in this material world as a leaders.
Yep.
So that's why it's not about avoidance. It's not about I will meditate through 3 hours every day and that's it. It's about integration, it's about holism. So that's why we need to make real results, creating new organizations, new forms of leadership, new forms, I don't know, of economy maybe itself. But we need connection and energy for that.
Exactly. Now I'm finding that's happening. I mean, there's been a number of conversations. Otto Voigt's been hosting conversations, I think, on Substack on that. What the new economies look like. I just signed up for the festival. I'm just trying to look it up. Festival for Reimagining the Economy. That's being run in Canada, so that's sweet. Because frankly, I don't consider Canadians terribly edgy, but there are some who are, so that's wonderful. Anyway, point is that I think we're starting to ask those bigger questions that address the more complex institutions that run our lives in a large way. And I in order to do that, you really have to step into what we're talking about here. So
Yeah,
things,
absolutely.
yeah, things like AI, how inner health changes. If we go back to the topic, which is how inner health changes what AI means for your career, it to me, it's a game changer, because AI
Yes.
really it gives you a big boost into, first of all, who am I now when there's an AI here that can do certain things, and it's a support. It's not the governor, it's not the ruler, it's not the prime minister or the president. It is AI. And then how do I balance that with my humanity, which,
Yeah.
to bring out the best in workplaces, in my community, in my home. I mean, there's so many layers to it.
Absolutely, 100%. I remember one fascinating scientist, Hiroshi Ishiguro, Japanese scientist, and he exploring consciousness, and he said that AI is opportunity to explore our human consciousness. So we successfully externalizing Android part of our consciousness in order to dive in our deeply human part of consciousness. So I believe, yes, maybe something like that, because we maybe understand more about ourselves,
Yeah,
and
hopefully.
we learn ourselves more and more.
When you look at the word, like when we look at a topic and what AI, what it means for your career, when you look as an HR person, when you look at careers, where do you think it's all going?
Through multidimensional portfolio careers, through understanding that AI can help junior people, for instance, to achieve middle level faster. So, for instance, AI removes significant proportion of low value repetitive activity and allows talented young professional to reach more complex work faster. So that's why I don't focus on negative part of that. I see that it's opportunity, and I think that yes, it's recalibration, and that people and employees with AI will replace people without AI.
Right. Okay, interesting.
So it's not about AI will replace humans. It's about humans with AI will replace humans without AI.
Right, right, right. Yeah. It sort of reminds me in a way, and this is on the mindful side of using AI, but it reminds me of some of the students that I would tutor, and they understood vocabulary, like they could use the words, but didn't understand the meaning. And I think with AI, people can go into AI and they can, like I do. I mean, I'm researching a lot on AI, and then I get all these pages of notes and stuff that I need to reflect on, and literally do that. And then I need to step back and say, oh, how do all these pieces fit? And how does my
Absolutely.
mind map all of this, and then when I'm writing, the AI is very aware of the fact that these are my words, they're not yours. How would you say it? I mean, it's very clear, and
Yeah.
so am I, that I've gotten that way. I mean, obviously I could do better, but it's that place where you say, okay, in my language it would sound like this, and I like the language you've used here, so maybe we can do something that blends the two.
Yeah.
Point being that I think, for AI to work in people's careers, there's got to be a much higher level of awareness on what are my boundaries? Who am I intellectually, or
Yeah.
whatever the domain is? But who am I here, and where do I maintain my sovereignty, if you will, my sense of control, to put it in another way,
Yeah.
over who I am and how I express myself. Because to take the research coming from AI and then repeat it without processing it, without understanding what it means, without sort of taking time to reflect, it's going to end up with a fairly reckless use of AI, and of information. And we've already seen that. We've already seen, you know, peer-reviewed reports labeled as disinformation because somebody can't tell the difference in YouTube. Somebody can't tell the difference between a peer-reviewed report and a non-peer-reviewed report. So, and you can, I've also seen regulatory agencies say, "Oh, well, that's disinformation because it's on social media." Well, really? That's how that got there? So there's so many easy deferrals happening unless we go deep and really think more carefully about who am I in relationship to this technology, And
Absolutely.
where are my lines? What lines will I not cross? And I think that's a bit of a constant process too. It's not because it's so easy just to let it go. It's easy, but so intentionally you've got to bring it back and say, where do I stand with this?
Absolutely.
So that, I mean, I don't know how that fits in terms of career trajectories, but any thoughts you have on that would be great.
It's absolutely spot on. AI is the level of language, but we are humans and we have something more beneath the level of language, something more, field energy, our somatic understanding of reality. So your example was absolutely perfect about that. So we have judgment, but it's not only about our cognitive intelligence, it's about something more. We feel, we sense. And that's why I believe that we need to develop our quality of judgment and decision making.
Yeah.
So we need to develop this connection, understanding meaning, purpose, sensing. Yes, something we need to focus on right now. So yes, maybe deeply human capabilities. Human capabilities, clarity, removing noise, removing this micromanagement, to focus on meaning, to focus on purpose, to focus on connection to yourself, to focus on ability to sense.
Yeah, excellent. Anything else you'd like to cover in our conversation? If I just go down some of the things we talked about, we talked about, well, one of the things I'd like you to talk about is what's one thing that people can do and take away from, to practice and just to, in terms of who they are, how you handle your inner health, how you manage it in relationship to what you're doing in your career and choices you make in your career. Any particular practices stand out for you?
Maybe I can do this practice with you if you want.
Maybe? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So these practices, they are deeply human. Maybe loving observer.
Okay.
So it's somatic practice. So okay, let's start. So are you ready? You need to relax your shoulder. I love this practice. I start every day with it. It's smaller than meditation. It's easy to do, but it's very beneficial. Imagine you enter the elevator and moving down from your head to your chest. Inhale and exhale. And now you can say, I feel unconditional love.
I feel unconditional love. Do you want me to say it out loud or
Yes.
in my head? Okay.
No, in your body.
Well, because we're doing an audio, I'll say it out loud.
Yes. Yeah. It's your fourth chakra. And now imagine yourself. You observe yourself from distance. Yourself. I don't know, maybe walking or sitting down, but you see yourself. And now just feel this unconditional love to that person, to yourself. It's not knowledge, it's not thoughts, it's a state of love. And you're just observing yourself from this state. You're just observing. You are state. You become this state of unconditional love. And you observe. And just try to feel response from your body. And just observe. A few minutes is enough for that. And this practice helps you to understand that you, in the same time, observer and player. And you can become this loving observer for yourself. What do you feel?
It's beautiful. I mean, it's so simple. And I'm
Yeah.
hoping that people watching this will do that, practice it, and try it out, give it a test drive, because it's so simple. And yeah, what I felt was a lot of warmth. And
Yeah,
and what I need was a lot of warmth. So that sort of place where you can nurture yourself and look after yourself
absolutely.
when there's a lot of chaos around, when there's a lot of negativity around. You have to create those spaces where you just go. I go in, I sort of go into a cocoon state and do something like that. That's a beautiful practice. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Anything else before we close off here, Zhanna? Do you have?
No, I feel so much warm, so much love right now. So thank you so much for this support. Thank you so much for that field, for that space, for your energy. So
Thank you.
I feel recharged,
Oh, beautiful. I'm
Full
hoping
of
anybody
warmth.
watching this
Yeah,
now or later will also feel recharged, because that is what we're here to do. It is to
yeah,
give that boost of energy, that boost of spiritual support and meaning and purpose, and all of those things together into one energetic force to be reckoned with. So thank you very much for being a part of this and for your patience, because
thank you.
we had some fun getting this together. But anyway, and
Absolutely.
I hope everyone watching enjoyed it too. And I see any comments you have, please drop them into the YouTube. This will be on YouTube, but it's also on Substack.
Oh, yeah, I will share definitely for my
Yeah,
network.
I'll
Yes.
tell you all about it. So, maybe Zhanna, do you have a place where people can find out more about your work and you?
LinkedIn. Yeah,
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah,
All right. And I'll get some other links from you and I'll drop them in the show notes as well.
yeah,
So, okay,
absolutely. Thank you so
perfect.
much.
Thanks so much for being here. Thank you. And
Thank you,
thanks
Dawna.
everyone for showing up and being a part of this.